Hey folks, and welcome to Hit Reviews with your host, Arlyeon. On today's episode, I'll be talking about BelowTheGame Studios' Haimrik, a puzzling adventure game with a gleefully morbid aesthetic. Find out with me if this macabre entry is all guts and no glory, or if it's a worthwhile endeavor to dive into this story. So, narrative-wise, Haimrik is the tale of an aspiring scribe who sort of sucks at his job. At least until he encounters a mysterious tome which requires its user to ink in its contents with blood, and thus armed he becomes a word warrior, though wizard might be more accurate, since it more or less allows him to convert words into spells. In any case, his acquisition of the book leads to a slew of problems that sees him battling other word warriors in a bleakly comical plot that may as well be the script to a Monty Python skit. At times, anyways. Overall, I was actually rather fond of the way the game told its story, not only through its character dialogue, but also vis-a-vis the weird walking cutscenes, where you sort of slowly saunter through an animated scene alongside some exposition. Honestly, my largest issue with the game's plotline is that it felt a bit condensed at times, which I found most notable with a certain plot twist / character reveal that occurs more or less near the climax of the game, though it was foreshadowed, as well as the altogether frantic but short nature of the finale. Still, when it comes to the actual game itself, I found myself generally pleased at its combination of puzzle solving and adventure. Whilst the world contained within the book can feel a bit samey at times and slightly limiting due to your move speed and super feeble jumps, later iterations do manage to change up the formula a bit with the specific obstacles they provide, as each foray into the book tends to contain its own unique puzzles. Plus, the overall nuance of interacting with the words which compromise the book world, both in the manner which you use them to equip yourself, influence the environment, and even combine them with other words to craft more complicated items and solutions, was an altogether enjoyable process to me. I'll admit that the first-person shooting controls were a little annoying, but the segments requiring those are generally few and far between, and the sheer variety in boss battles that Haimrik managed to provide more than made up for it. One of my favorite segments later on in the game actually involved the part where you're exploring the backstories of some of the game's other cast members, represented by Haimrik wearing a cheap-looking mask of the person he's delving into the origin of. What made this part of the game especially notable to me, however, wasn't the visual gag, but rather the fact that part of the segment introduced a secondary character that you got to swap between, providing some very interesting puzzle problem solving between the two characters. So, switching gears to the sound department, Haimrik's alright. The music's nice, the sound effects are nice, but honestly, I think the part that stuck with me the longest was usually the poor protagonist's sounds of discomfort and misery whenever I screwed up and got him killed. Now, that said, it definitely made an impression on me in the visual department, as it possesses a rather striking style that looks hand-drawn, and the, for the most part, sepia tones of the game that seem altogether chosen to further emphasize the gore and grim humor of it. It honestly makes the effed up cartoonishness of both the game's scenes and death animations stand out all the more. So, having reached the part of the review where I parsed together my final thoughts, I will say that I did thoroughly enjoy Haimrik. I wasn't altogether sure what to expect when I initially dove into the game, but I ultimately came away pretty pleased by my experience. Enough so that its combination of adventure, puzzle solving, and weird narrative quirks do make it worthwhile to dive into. That said, I will caution that as far as forays into the gaming world go, it likely will be a shorter one. Haimrik, as an experience, is a relatively linear one, with not much in the way of secondary content to plunge into other than achievement farming. And that might end up feeling a bit more noticeable to some folks, given that it took me a bit less than 4 hours to complete the game. That said, if you're looking for something different and not too long to dive into, I'd say Haimrik is definitely a hit, and I would recommend giving it a look-see. So anyways, that brings us to the end of this video, so if you have any comments or critiques, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, if you'd like to see more content in the forms of reviews or developer interviews, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you can get an alert whenever a new review or interview is released. Oh, and you can always hit the like button on this video if it wasn't complete trash. Anyways, this has been Arlyeon. I will see you folks next time. See ya!